Hi, and welcome back to Community Hotline. I'm Monica Weitzel, and we're in Gresham at Metro East Community Media. And now for our last guest tonight, I'm happy to introduce you to Apple of His Eye Charity. It's an organization here in the Gresham area as far as its local presence, but the reach is far past Gresham and around the world. So I'm very happy to introduce you to TJ Saling-Caldwell. You are the founder and board chair. Thanks for being here, TJ.
Thank you.
And Connie McClellan, you are a volunteer and a missionary, or have been a missionary for Apple of His Eye.
Yeah.
Thanks for being here. So you're new to me. We have not had the pleasure of having you on our set before. So maybe you can tell me and our viewers a little bit about Apple of His Eye. How did this start? As a founder, what prompted you to start this organization?
Well, it was a mission trip in 2006 it was my very first mission trip.
Right. And is this through a church or just?
Yes, through Greater Gresham Baptist Church.
Okay.
And it was an exploratory trip to see if God had anything for us in India. So it was several pastors and music leaders. And then, I was a stay-at-home mom, so I really didn't know what I had to offer on this trip. I was scared to death to go.
I would be terrified. just putting yourself out there and not really knowing what you were getting into. So what did you get into? Well,
so that first trip, I really did feel like the odd one out, and the whole time wondering, what am I doing here? And but during that trip, I met two pastors. They were translating for us.
Oh, okay.
And I really felt just drawn to these two men to hear their stories. They just, more and more as the trip progressed, I learned just the incredible sacrifice that these two men were doing. They were well-educated men, had been from an upper class or caste system in India, but gave up everything once they came to know the Lord and stepped out to be pastors. But so they really lost pretty much their income, their status,
all the material things.
Yes. But so they, and they both had families. So on top of taking care of their families, they were rescuing kids off the street that were being sold into sex trade or slave labor. And I just couldn't believe the faith of these pastors stepping out to do this.
And that's really putting yourself out there to help people like that. People that are in those kind of situations, which are dangerous and scary, and it takes a lot of guts and courage to do that kind of thing. So then you met these people. They influenced you obviously a lot. So what did you do with that information? What did you do with that?
Well, I came home and I wanted to get rid of the burden I had, and I didn't know how. And so just a lot of prayer and a lot of asking God, like, what do you want me to do with this? You're the one that sent me over there now. What do I do with this? And so I started just fundraisers out of my house so I'd be able to send some money over. And, I was happy to do that, but really felt a push from the Lord to go further. And my church, just out of the blue, said, hey, we're thinking about doing some kind of sponsorship program. Would you want to head that up? And I knew it was from the Lord.
That's what I was meant to do, huh?
Yeah, so they provided that umbrella for me to be able to send money over there officially so people wouldn't have to write personal checks to me. So we did that for a while, and I was good with that, but just really felt the Lord leading to more, and confirmed when the church came back to me and said, I think you're going to need to just start your own charity because this is getting too big.
Well, and that's a good thing. When when your work is getting to be too much that you need to be a nonprofit, then that means you're succeeding at what you're doing.
So they let me know this is a good problem, but we think that maybe you need to take it to the next step. So in 2012 is when it became official.
And so you're a 501c3. You're official now. And so you, Connie, you have been volunteering and you have been on a mission as well, or one or more?
Yes. One. I have always wanted to be a missionary, but never had the opportunity to really go. And so now that I'm older, I didn't think I'd get to go either because I'm old, And so, but I lived vicariously through my daughter, who's a missionary. When I met TJ, and I fell in love with her and her heart for the orphans and the widows, and she was going to take her first missionary trip with a group. And I really felt like I wanted to do that, but I didn't think I would be able to afford it and all that kind of thing. But through a lot of encouragement through friends and my husband, who just said, yes, you need to do this, you're getting older.
Yeah. It's always advocates coming back, but really.
and of course, I really felt like the Lord was pushing me to do that. And I had a really good friend say to me, you know, Connie, if you're not standing on the edge, you're taking up too much space.
Cool.
So it's living a little bit more risky. And so believing God that He wanted me to go, I did go, and it was amazing. I will never be the same. We loved on those little women that the leprosy church we went to, and the dear women without hands and fingers or feet, and clutching their Bible and smiling, the happiest people in the world, and we just loved on them. It changed us. It really changed us. Being able to feed, you know, the orphans and
so that was part of my question then. You went over there, and I know this is a faith-based organization, but you're providing practical help as well.
Oh,
It's not just preaching to people that already have their faith or whatever. It's through action.
Yeah, I mean the whole name behind the charity. We want these individuals that we're helping to know that they're the apple of God's eye, and so we do that by sharing the love of Jesus in very practical ways.
And I like that. Now there's some pictures that you brought, and I think we should take a look at those. Yeah. You could share with us what we're seeing here.
So this is one of the orphanages that we have the privilege of sponsoring, and they are doing their schoolwork. One of the projects we are promoting right now, we want to build a school.
So they don't have an actual school.
They don't have an actual school. So as you can see, they're sitting out on the patio, and it gets really hot in India. So that's what we're trusting God for. Yes, and this is just, I mean, this is one of the joys that we get to do is these kids, these would be kids on the street. They wouldn't be having no opportunity for an education. So we get to provide an education for these kids. So this one just got his brand new school supplies.
Oh, that's great. Oh.
And then this is another one of the orphanages. The man on the left is one of the men that I met on that first mission trip. That's Pastor Jacob. And if you see that little woman in the middle, that's his mother, Martha. Oh. And he gives her all the credit for starting.
Really?
He says she is the heart behind the orphanage. And when you meet this woman, oh my goodness. She is amazing. Yeah, and there's just some of the kids. And then this is the other pastor I met on that first mission trip, Pastor Israel, and they get new shoes.
Oh, nice.
So you know, these kids wouldn't have any opportunity to have new clothes and shoes, but through the sponsorship program.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, and Pastor Israel actually came last banquet that we had last year, his very first time to America, and we got to host him for 2 weeks. Amazing trip. So this is him at the computer lab. This is something else that we've been able to do is these kids now have computers that they get to learn computer skills, and they get to take that on then into a career.
Well, you're providing a future.
Yes.
That perhaps they would not have had otherwise.
Yeah.
Oh, how
and
sweet is that?
And there's Pastor Jacob with one of the new orphans that have just come.
So these orphans, they're all from India. They're all just from different circumstances. They no longer...
Some, their parents are still alive, but they have AIDS. Some are living with their grandparents, but their grandparents couldn't take care of them anymore. So a lot of times they'll just get dropped off at the doorstep, or I mean, it's just, and then sometimes they're just out and about, and they'll see kids and bring them in. So. And then this is a lady, this is a Rwandan.
So you're in Rwanda also now.
Yes. And she's in a co-op program. And I just love this lady because we got to go last year and we heard her story. So she's a part of this co-op program, and she was the poorest, most looked down upon widow. And that happens in these developing countries. When you're a widow, you just are at the bottom.
Wow.
And so she had no opportunity to provide for herself. She became a part of this co-op, and we just encouraged them to start a business. And so she said, well, can I have money to buy a cow? I want to sell milk. So that's how she started, but she sold so much milk that she was able to buy a bull.
Oh.
And so then she ended up, this whole barn is filled with cows. She went from the poorest in her village to now being the most respected.
Wow, that's pretty
I
impressive.
just love that
That's
story.
impressive.
And then this is another program that we offer. This is another picture from Rwanda, a sewing program. So they take a 9-month sewing program, and then at the end of the program, one thing we raise funds for is to be able to give these women a sewing machine so then they can start their business.
Great, that's wonderful.
Yeah, so they just finished and they were getting the sewing machines. And then this is just an awesome project. Connie got to be in on this.
Yeah.
Do you want to tell me about that, Connie?
Yeah, I want to.
Well, one thing they really need there and don't have are latrines, bathrooms.
Oh.
And so at one of the celebrations we had to offer them the sewing machines to the graduates of the sewing school, the mayor came, and the mayor is a woman, and she said, you know, we really could use some bathrooms out here, you know, and there weren't any at all. And so they
Are we talking flush toilets? Or are we just talking
a hole in the ground with a room around it.
Wow. I mean, they didn't even have that.
No, they didn't even have that.
Okay.
So there was a lot of sickness and disease.
Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah.
So anyway, we said we would go back to the United States and we would try to raise money to supply them with what they needed to build these bathrooms. And so we did that, and people rallied around.
Oh my goodness.
It was amazing.
The support was amazing.
Really?
I mean, when we said that to the woman, the mayor, I was thinking, oh God, this has to come from you because I don't know how we're going to do this.
Yeah.
But
anyway, so that is a picture of one of them. These ladies have their own little bathroom now with a door. And that was just a huge thing there.
Yeah. Over 200 toilets. We were going to try to get
over 200.
We were going to try to get 100 was our goal, and we raised so much money that they were able to do 200. And the government got involved. Once we sent the money over, they matched the money because the government wanted. They want to clean up too.
Sure. Well, so it helps everyone, especially for health reasons and just you know.
So we're excited to go back, able to go back and actually see.
You'll be welcomed with open arms, won't you?
Yeah, yeah. And then this is a Rwandan lady, and this is another project that we do, just providing clean water, but also this is a business for her. This is one of the women in the co-op, and her business, she wanted to sell water. So now the whole village gets clean water. She raises money through giving the village. So I mean, it's just
wow. So it's a win-win all the way around. She looks very proud, you know, her stature, doesn't she?
Well, and this, both she and that boy have AIDS.
Oh, really?
So it's really hard.
There's a lot of hard stories and a lot of hard things, but making that difference to people is it's got to be really it's got to just change your life. I mean, well, like you said.
One thing we didn't mention is that we also do medical teams. I don't know if you know Good News Clinic here.
I've heard of it, yeah.
Okay. Dr. Bob Sison went with us, and he brought a couple of his people with him, didn't he, for medical people?
No, we worked with the Indian people.
That's right, we had, yes. But he brought medicines and things like that, and we did clinics in different areas. And so that whole medical contribution, you know, is what we do as well. So
couldn't do it without people, the help from the community and from back here. So obviously to do these things you need to fundraise, and you have a fundraising banquet coming up?
Yes.
So tell me about that.
So that's October 1st. It's our 4th annual fundraising banquet. The other 3 have been at Greater Gresham Baptist Church. They've always
have you outgrown that now, do you think?
And we've outgrown it, so that's a good problem.
Yes.
So we're excited. It's going to be at the Holiday Inn on Columbia Boulevard.
Yes, okay.
Yeah, and we're calling it Star Search.
And why is that?
Because we know that this isn't about us. This is about all the people that God's brought together to help the orphan and the widow and poor and forgotten in India and Rwanda. And so we wanted to really honor the people that are coming together to do this work. And so we've come up, instead of calling people sponsors, we call them stars, shining together, actively representing the Savior. So, so we just thought, hey, this is a star search. This is a night to celebrate all that you guys are doing. So we're just having local talent, local stars come and just do different talents. There's someone reading a poem. There's a Salt Academy is doing a drama.
Great.
And then we're having John, our partner in Rwanda. It'll be his first time coming to the United States.
So will he be able to speak and share? So
he was an orphan. He's going to share his testimony. He's going to do a traditional Rwandan dance.
Oh, that's great. That's great. So we can't say prices on the air, but we can, if people are interested in buying tickets to this event.
There's no tickets.
Oh, there's no tickets, so people can just
so they can just go online and reserve. Yes.
So appleofhiseyecharity.org would be the place to go, and they get the information about that. And then we only have about a minute or two left. So tell me about India Mission 2016. That's the one, or there's one coming up?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
So we're going to, we are committed to go over every year to either India or Rwanda. So we take turns back and forth. Yeah. So this will be our second trip officially as Apple of His Eye Charity going to India. And the cool thing about this is we're not just sending money over. We're committed to going and seeing. Yes. We're working alongside them. We're encouraging them. We're offering support. And we see how the funds are being used.
Right. You know where the money's going. And you know it's being spent in the way that you want it to be spent. That'll be the most effective for them.
It's kind of like the deadline to sign up for this trip, but definitely if people were interested, I would love to hear from you. And then also Rwanda will be next summer. So
wonderful. Thank you, ladies, both so much for sharing about this. It's amazing work you're doing, and you're obviously making a big difference for some lives that maybe wouldn't have had such a great future before. So thanks.
Well, thanks for letting us share.
You bet. Thanks very much for watching Community Hotline. I hope that you learned something that'll change you to either spur you on to do some volunteer work or get involved in your community more. That's what it's all about. We're all part of the same community. I'm Monica Weitzel. We'll see you here next week on Community Hotline.